Today, me and Tuck are going to share with you 5 perennials you only have to plant once and will be able to harvest forever. Let's go! The first perennial that will feed you for life is asparagus. This is the first perennial spring crop that I harvest, and once I see them popping out of the ground, like you can see here, it always motivates me to get out in the garden more. Homegrown asparagus taste nothing like store-bought ones. Homegrown ones are so tender and so sweet that I eat them raw, fresh, out of the garden. They aren't stringy at all, and they're so juicy, liquid drips out of the bottom of them after you harvest. If you don't already have an asparagus patch growing, I suggest you get one planted now. Tuck is sitting on the outside, because once these young asparagus start to pop out of the ground, this guy comes and snatches them right up. They're one of his favorite snacks to grab fresh out of the garden. The quickest and easiest way to get a patch going is to purchase 1-year-old crowns. When planting the crown, you should dig a trench 12 inches wide and 6 to 8 inches deep. Then you want to make a small mound in the bottom of the trench and put the crown on top. This will help you spread out the draping roots of the asparagus plant and encourage them to not tangle themselves up. Next, cover the crown with 2 inches of soil and water it in. In 2 weeks, add another 2 inches of soil and continue to follow the same process until you're back at the same soil level you started with. Planting asparagus from crowns, or the root, will save you a year of time, but planting asparagus from seed will give you a major advantage. Asparagus plants are either male or female, and the males tend to be more productive because the females waste a lot of their growth energy on the production of seeds instead of solely on the production of spears. I harvested seed from my asparagus plants last year. This year, I planted them, and now I have young asparagus plants growing. If you plant your asparagus from seed, what you can do is identify the females when they're young. You can see when they start to flower. We don't have any flowering just yet, but if they start to flower, we will know that it's a female and we'll remove it. We won't plant it out into the garden. This way, the only asparagus that we plant into our patch are males. This will ensure that our patch is much higher yielding. The next perennial that will feed you for life are strawberries. One of our patches is just starting to wake up. Going out on a beautiful spring day and grabbing a fresh bucket of strawberries is about as close to paradise as you will get on this earth, in my opinion. Some varieties that you can grow at home are nothing like the ones from the store. They're incredibly sweet, immensely juicy, and addictingly delicious. I suggest you get your strawberry patch started by planting bare root strawberries. You can get some great varieties. This year, I'm adding some Albion strawberries. And the strawberries behind me are my favorite variety that I've ever planted. These ones are the Shuckson strawberries. Around here in Zone 7A, spring is the best time to get your strawberries planted. Strawberries do best when they're in full sun, and they'll grow well in most soils. They also grow fantastic in containers, so if you don't have a lot of space, that's no problem. When planting strawberries, I suggest soaking the plants in water as you're planting them out. This allows the roots to rehydrate a bit before planting. A good technique when planting is to dig a hole, then make a mound in the center and place the strawberry crown on that mound to allow the roots to drape off the sides and spread out in all directions. Also, when planting, be very careful not to bury the crown of the strawberry plant because this is where the leaves will unfold from. When your young, newly planted strawberry starts first flower, even though it's going to be hard, I suggest that you remove those flowers. This way, your young plants don't focus all of their energy on the production of small berries. Instead, they can focus on becoming strong, established plants that feed you forever. I have another suggestion, that you plant some strawberries underneath your fruit trees if you have some fruit trees. I found this to be a relatively symbiotic relationship where the strawberries act as like a living mulch and you can get a harvest from them. And you can see up here, we'll still have a fruit tree growing. This apple tree can kick out a bunch of apples, so it's like you're getting double the yield in the same location. Me and Tuck wanted to take a quick second to show you our tower gardens, how well everything is growing in them, and we love them so much we want to give one away to one of you. All you have to do is guess a number between 1 and 500 and send it to the email address right here, hello@teamgrow.us. In the subject line, put Tuck and then the number that you guess. In next week's video on Saturday, we're going to announce the winner. We're just going to put it in a random number generator. If 2 people guess the same number and that's the number that wins, it's going to be whoever submitted it first. So send an email, Guess a number and have your chance to win a tower garden so you can grow food in your backyard, on your patio, or even in your greenhouse. Another perennial crop that will feed you for life are brambles. Brambles, like raspberries, which you see right here, and blackberries, which are behind me, are some of my favorite crops. They're easy to grow, and there's a bunch of different kinds, like fall-bearing raspberries, summer-bearing raspberries, blackberries, purple raspberries. They're all delicious and quite nutritious. Brambles grow like weeds, so just keep the area weed-free and your plants will thrive. An important thing about brambles is knowing how to prune them to make sure you get the largest harvest possible. For most brambles, like summer-bearing raspberries or blackberries, which you see right here, they fruit on 2-year-old canes, and most of the fruit is on lateral branches. So you'll notice my blackberries, I cut them down to about 4 feet or so, and then encourage a lot of side branching because this is where most of the fruit will be. Fall raspberries, you can cut to the ground after they fruit, and new canes will shoot up and be loaded with fruit in the early fall. If you don't have some brambles planted, I suggest you start with some fall-bearing raspberries. The yellow ones are my favorite. The fall gold and the yellow Ann, in my opinion, are the best tasting varieties out there. Plus, raspberries will grow great in a pot. So if you don't have a lot of space and maybe only space for a patio garden, brambles will be a great addition. The next perennial that you need to plant that will feed you for life are perennial herbs like oregano, thyme, and rosemary. I put this oregano plant in the ground about 5 to 7 years ago. Every year it gets bigger and bigger, and I've barely done a thing for it. The only thing that I do is in late fall or early spring, I'll come out here and just prune back these flower stalks, just like this. Besides that, the only thing I do is harvest from it. Not only does it provide me with fresh oregano, but it also brings in an incredible amount of pollinators when it's flowering, and the whole plant just looks absolutely beautiful. I even planted an herb like rosemary once and can get years and years of production out of it, even though it's a bit intolerant to how cold it gets around here. What I do is I grow my rosemary in the garden, then when the cold weather starts to set in, I dig up my rosemary and plant it in a pot, then move it into my greenhouse or in my house. This allows me to grow it all year long, and if I want, I can pop it back into the ground in the spring. Mint is another herb that you can plant once that will feed you for life, but it can spread a little bit too much in a garden and become invasive. If you want to plant mint, I suggest that you plant it in a pot. If you don't plant it in a pot and you plant it in the garden, before you know it, your garden might primarily become a mint garden. There's a number of other herbs you can plant, like lemon balm, that are easy to grow and will add flavor to your dishes for the rest of your life. The fifth perennial that will feed you for life is one that I can't live without. I'm talking about blueberries. Blueberries are hands down my favorite fresh crop to eat from the garden. There's nothing like grabbing a handful of them. And the pink lemonade blueberries have become my all-time favorite blueberry. Incredible color, sweet flavor, there's nothing like it. Right below us here, you'll notice we've got the boss protecting one of our perennials that will last for life. This guy's just relaxing. It might look like he's not doing much, but he's surveying. He's making sure nothing sneaks in, and he loves watching out in the garden. If you love seeing Tuck in the videos, spam some hearts down low. He never quits. He's always out here. He's always got our back, and he's not a big fan of the strawberries, which I'm super happy about. I get to eat all those, but when it comes to the carrots, the peas, and the green beans, this guy's all over them. Blueberries like growing in a soil that's acidic. So when planting, it's a good idea to mix in some peat moss or some pine needles to bring the pH down to a level where blueberries will thrive. If you have super alkaline soil, it might not be worth it to plant blueberries into the ground, but they grow fantastic in containers. Just make sure if you plant blueberries, especially in containers, that you plant 2 different cultivars because they're not self-fertile. Something I suggest you try is, even in a container, plant 2 different varieties of blueberries in the same spot. I plant my blueberries in the ground, but these ones, they're 2 different varieties. They're planted right next to each other, and they are both thriving. I live in New Jersey, and this is an ideal location to grow blueberries. They actually grow wild in some of the forests just local to me. When planting blueberries, I suggest you plant 2 to 3-year-old plants because blueberries usually take about 6 to 8 years until they reach full production. There are a number of additional perennials that will feed you for life. A bunch of them are fruit trees, like this one right here, a pear tree. This thing was loaded with fruit last year, but I wanted to stick with perennials that most people could plant in their garden, even if they don't have a lot of space. And a number of the ones that I share with you, you could just grow those in pots. There are additional perennials too that I didn't feel like were worth mentioning. One of them are sunchokes. Some people like saying that sunchokes are great, that you should plant them in the garden, but in my opinion, they are not worth it. They are a perennial that will probably grow forever, but it will end up being something that you probably don't want. They do not taste anything like potatoes, even though some people say they will. I'd rather just plant potatoes every year rather than have sunchokes, sometimes called Jerusalem artichokes, in the garden. It's just not worth it in my opinion. They also can become invasive. So I think that there's sometimes a reason rare plants are rare. That's today's video, growers. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you got something out of it. Me and Tuck had a blast out here. The weather is really starting to get nicer. We have most of our beds all filled, but not all of them. It's just so many additional stuff we put in the garden this year. It's so exciting. We already got some things planted, and we can't get ready. We can't wait to get to the harvest. It's not gonna be far from here. We had such a good time, and we hope we brought you guys some value, and we hope that you plant some of these perennials in your garden and that you start to focus more on a perennial mindset instead of just on an annual mindset. It's great to grow annuals, but it's even better to grow annuals and have perennials in the background, always producing and working, so they can just continue to feed you, like I said, for the rest of your life. I mean, these blueberries should last 40, I don't know, 50, 60 years, I would assume, but they're gonna last such a long time. So it's nice to get something in here that not only you have to take care of, but that can also take care of you. Me and Tuck wanted to mention a thank you to one of our new channel members, Crystal Johnson. Thanks for being a part of Team Grow. Thanks for having your hand in everything we're doing out here. Tuck, the young boss, the young king, the inspiration for the garden, and James will be back again real soon. We